Hello and welcome to India Market Open. It's Monday morning and we're gearing up for another important week of trade. Fourth phase of election kicks in. Volatility is expected to be at its peak. Global cues are not looking very promising this morning. And bears seem to have a little bit of grip on the street at this stage at least. So a negative start, at least in terms of the implied open.
Yeah, I mean, just somehow because we had such idiosyncratic cues leading our markets lower, and so much of shorts in the system, plus the selling from the two global funds largely over. I don't know, if PM Modi's reiteration plus other things come to fruition, then we might well have a good week as the week proceeds ahead. Somehow, it's a bit of short covering if that were to happen. Could be really positive.
So global cues aren't all that negative. I would say mixed. US is okay.
Asia is a little weak.
Asia is a little weak. And in terms of elections, this is definitely an important week because it's sandwiched between two very crucial phases. Phase 4 is today, and you have phase 5 next Monday when markets will be closed. To which, of course, you'll see a response the following week. Also, and we'll go into more details on this on Editor's Cut. The phases now onwards are the important one. The business end, so to speak, of the election comes in as far as the BJP is concerned, because their key seats and their strongholds now go to vote. So we'll talk about all of that, and of course we'll play out for you that exclusive conversation that Prime Minister Modi had with NDTV in the middle of an election rally in Patna, where he reiterates the 400-seat mark. And that becomes important because that was the question mark for this market right now, that is it going to be 400? Though, as we've said time and again, you don't need 400, you need 273 to run a government in India. So 300, 320, 400, all vanity numbers in that sense. But you actually need 273. We'll come to all of that. Let me just set up the global cues for you and the global news flow for you this morning before we get into what the trade setup is for the week and for the day. So largely positive as far as US markets are concerned, at least. 8th trading session has seen a winning streak. The Dow closed about over 100 points up. That sense that maybe there will be rate cuts this year is continuing. What was, I would say, a fly in the ointment was consumer sentiment data, which came in. The University of Michigan puts it out, and that indicated expectations of slightly higher inflation. Now, those expectations are from consumers themselves. It is what you sense or you think inflation is going to be. It's a household survey, so to speak. So that is slightly higher. So that's not too positive. It's going to be a wait and watch kind of a week because Wednesday you have key data coming out. The US CPI will come out for the previous month. The 10-year Treasury retraced a bit. It inched up high, but retraced and settled at about 4.94%. So nothing too alarming there. A couple of comments from various Fed officials, and this is something that moves markets consistently. Underlining largely, I'm not going to go into detail, but underlining largely that higher for longer is not a narrative which is behind us till now. And for crude prices, that's not necessarily a positive. It indicates maybe demand won't pick up as much as expected. So you had the Brent down to nearly 82 a barrel. So benign oil good for us in terms of India. Asian markets, though, as Samina said, were not great, opened largely in the red and continue to be there. Inflation data price index, which has come out in China, is a little higher than expected, so that's a downer. I would say mixed cues globally overall. I just want to pull up fund flows before we go to the setup, and I think a more detailed piece will be coming around on what the fund flows have been. All of May has been, seeing a spree of foreign investors selling. The provisional data from NAC for Friday was about 2,118 crores. DIS bought 2,710 crores, but overall in the month of May so far, it's upwards of 20,000 crore rupees in terms of fund flow. So that continues unabated one way or the other. Is it a larger story? Is it to do with elections? Is it like, Niraj, you were saying that it's these two large funds which had to, sort of square off their positions, and are they done? Is a bit of a question mark.
Yeah, last week was certainly that. I mean, for the whole month of May, you can argue that from the starting of the month, maybe some bit of it was otherwise. But last week, almost every large FI dealing room that you speak to and I was with somebody on Saturday as well. Large week was entirely that. So there is thankfully no question mark. And if you just look at the short positions created on Thursday's session, for example, just look at the call put data and you will see the kind of call positions that were written on Thursday. Just such large short positions existing in the system that a whiff of short covering, which if it comes about, could actually lead to a significant sharp up move in the markets. I would dare say at the risk of sounding too bullish in a current otherwise scenario, just speaking to dealing rooms across would give you a sense that maybe some people are bracing up for that as well. So keep that in mind. Like Tamanna stated, FI sell number high, but very high for the last 3 days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday and Thursday in particular, extremely high sell number. But most people say that major part of that concentrated selling largely over. Difficult to figure that out because FIs can lever up to 5x of their official position. How much is levered, how much is not? Very difficult for almost anybody to figure out. But most people say that that part of selling is largely over. I wonder if PM Modi's confident reiteration to the NDTV network about the political outlook also soothes some frayed nerves. So that's the third piece. And if this were to happen, independent of looking at what sector or what stocks have done well or otherwise, you effectively look at stocks which have gotten beaten down the most, which are usually first to party when a swing trade turns either side. And maybe that's the set of stocks that you look at. And we saw some evidence of that, right? In Friday's session, UPL, beaten down name, for no apparent reason, up 7%. JSW Energy got beaten down out of shape on the day of the results and afterwards, up suddenly 7 or 8% for no apparent reason. So a lot of these really beaten down names saw a bit of a swing trade in Friday. Let's see if some of them were to show that spunk this week as well or not.
Zomato as well had a pretty sweet rally on
life
Friday
highs.
And unexpected, right? There was no trigger or cue for that one. But Niraj, if I take your point on the index, fair point. We did claw back. There was some amount of reassurance. We closed about 22,000. But Bank Nifty, now that really attempted a pullback, failed. It managed to close 67 points lower in Friday's close. Of course, an important level of support is 47,240, and I think if that gets held, maybe a relief rally there could support the index. But it didn't happen on Friday. The hope is that if it happens over the course of the next few days, the support that the index is looking for is going to come through. And I think while everyone is so concerned and worried about what happened last week, this is not even the start of a correction. I mean, a 3% up move from record highs is nothing to be worried about. And the fact remains that it will be volatile. There will be profit taking. We've had very strong years behind us in terms of a positive up move. And we've constantly talked about valuation being a worry, but that's not caught up in the terms of what you're seeing in pricing, right? So while FIs have been selling, DIs have literally come in and supported the market as and when needed. But to say that we are completely out of the woods, I still won't go as far as saying that, because it is an event-based, and every time there's an event, and that's why you have the, I mean, I know we've been very nervous about the WIX jumping, but if the WIX doesn't jump at times like these, then when will it?
Yeah.
You know, you've had Lehman, you've had 2014, you've had 2019. Of course, it's an election time. It's a big event. It has to go up.
And I don't think anyone will ever stick their neck out and say that they know for sure what's going to happen on June 4th.
It would be very silly and stupid of you to do that.
Yeah, but just one small point in the mix, because this was so much spoken about. And Friday, there was a 5-year celebration of one of the large asset managers, and the whole janta was there. And almost everybody was of the consensus view that while the market in its wisdom thought that, oh, was it the lower voter turnout that was doing this trick? The informed people were completely clear that there was no connection to their mind of this voter turnout argument. It was effectively the concentrated selling that was happening in India, as opposed to a lower voter turnout that was really leading to something.
Yeah, and even talking about the VIX, while it is at levels at 18.4 is what I think it closed at on Friday. In 2019, on 17 May, it was at 28. In 2014, on the 9th of May, it was at 38. So 38, 28 and 18. So really nothing to worry about. But yes, I do feel like it's going to be range bound. 21,900 is an important level of support. We're hoping Bank Nifty comes through and reinsures or reassures us that there is a little bit of strength in the market. But after a record high, some consolidation comes in as no surprise. Well, lots of stocks to watch out for, and some of them have been a good set of earnings. Tata Motors, so this is going to be one big support on the index, I'd like to believe, this morning. Good earnings, brokerages seem enthused. All in all, it's a good pack. They're now cash debt-free. That is a relief, and a lot of it working for them. PV, CV, GLR, domestic, internationally, margins have improved, top lines come in better. Operating performance is also very, very impressive. So they announced numbers, saw a threefold rise in demand. To just put a number to that, 222% higher in terms of top line. There was, of course, a tax credit surge, and that contributed to some extent to the top line, but the rest of the business also reporting very solid numbers. Like I said, margin expansion was seen on domestic and standalone basis, and from the big brokerages, you've had the likes of Phillip Capital, Nuvama, Elara, all actually seeming quite impressed with what Tata Motors has done this quarter. The stock performed really well over the last 2 days. Before it went into its earnings, Thursday and Friday was pretty solid. Expected to do a cap up, I'd imagine, if the market sentiment is supportive on back of good earnings. Kalyan Jewellers, that's the other one. Again, good earnings for them too. They've reported a 2 times jump in top line, coming in at 697 crores as compared to the same quarter last year. Revenue came in at 45,349, which is up about 34%, and margins have also improved. Their Middle East business is doing really well. That's contributed to 624 crores in terms of, pardon me, the margins are flat on this one. But apart from the margin figure, the revenue and profitability is better than expected. Middle East, so your Oman, Qatar, Dubai have contributed well to Kalyan Jewels. 14% of the top line comes in from the Middle Eastern operations. PAT is coming at 9.9 crores, up 76% from 5.6. So all in all, good numbers. The stock was up 4% on Friday. It'd be interesting to see whether it reacts to these numbers or it's buy the rumor, sell the news kind of play that happens on Kalyan. Apart from that, the other one that I want to quickly pull up is a few other ones actually. You've got Thermax, but Dilip Bilkon. That was an eye-catching number in my opinion. They've had a pretty smart move in terms of the stock as well over the last couple of quarters. Lots of internal restructuring, focusing on core businesses, cutting down operational costs is what's helped Dilip Bilkon. And it's in the numbers again this morning. Revenues are up, profitability is up, margins have improved, order book is looking healthy. We will connect with the management at 12 o'clock this afternoon to get a sense of what lies ahead for Dilip Bilkon. But all in all, once again, a good quarter for Dilip Bilkon.
Yeah, I just on Kalyan Jewellers, I was just wondering the fact that gold prices have gone, through the roof would definitely contribute to their top line, but I'm not sure how much to their profitability. But nevertheless, a good set of numbers there. Samina, you spoke about Tata Motors. Eicher Motors is the other one that I wanted to talk about. In line largely, but brokerage notes are a little mixed on an Eicher. But on the face of it, numbers, nothing to complain about, so to speak. Margins up 200 bips, net profit up 18% as well. Citi says a buy. They've maintained a target price of 5,300, up from 4,600. So they see an upside of 14%. They're happy with the strong results. They say the outlook is positive, and the management is expecting a double-digit year-on-year growth in the middleweight bikes segment. On the other hand, MK maintains a sell with a 3,400 downside of 27%. So divergent there. In-line quarter, but growth concerns remain. Overall, Eicher has not done too badly, and I would say auto space continues to be in the positive territory in a relative basis, and we've seen that through a very volatile week as well. Finolex is the other one I thought we should look at. Revenues have grown about 8%, so I would say tepid set of results as far as Finolex is concerned. EBITDA was down close to 4%. Margins also down about 200 points, 200 bips, 214. And net profits are also mildly down, so you might see a bit of a downside coming in on a Finolex Industries. That space has, maybe on a high base, not done too well. Zydus Life could see an up move because of the approval they've received from the US FDA. It's a final approval for a tablet called dexamethasone, and it's used in a host of conditions. It has a 1.8 million USD market. And that would be a good bump up maybe for a Zydus Life. Couple of more, but I'll return to them. A lot of stocks always to talk about on a Monday after a weekend in result season.
In result season especially, but I don't know, I just think somehow ABB India, despite the 9% up move ahead of results, could well turn out to be the stock of the day despite the valuations as well. Because just look at the margin beat there. This is a company which operates in a space where margin expansion is difficult, and the revenues were up 27%, which is great, ahead of estimates, 3,080 crores. But the margins, 18.34 versus 11.83, and PAT as a result of which, for ABB, a company of that size, 1 lakh crore market cap, the profit after tax was up 87% at 459 crores versus 245 crores. Now, the interesting thing is, looking at multiple notes, the Jefferies note, they have raised the target to 8845, and they say that the stock, they are valuing the stock in order to come at the target of 8845 at 60 times September 2026 PE multiple. And that, they say, is a discount of 20% to the 7-year mean. That's the astounding part about the ABB valuation and how some bulls are valuing it. But the point being, it's a 49% profit beat driven by margins, and the company's release does not indicate any material one-offs in margins. So if this northwards of 15% to 18% is the new normal, then imagine the profit growth that ABB will show throughout 2024 relative to 2023. It's just astounding what they have done. You know, Axis Cap notes suggest that the extrapolation of Q1 to calendar year would lead to a 26% upgrade in estimates. So while the stock has done 10% in the run-up to the results, and maybe some bit of profit booking could come in, but I wouldn't be surprised if ABB has a big rara move in the session today. And quite the opposite could happen to VIP. Revenues were up 14 or 15% at 516 crores. The estimates were 513 crores, or we should have gotten the estimates here and not this. But be that as it may, the EBITDA is down 87.8% at 8 crores versus the Bloomberg estimate of 49 crores. Margins, 1.5%. The estimates were 9.6%, and largely due to the Bangladesh issues that VIP has had. Most brokerages have downgraded, so maybe a bit of a stick that VIP gets. One last stock, MGL. Most brokerages, including Citi, has upgraded the stock to a buy with a target price of 1550 for MGL. They said the stock is down by 15% over the last 2 odd months, but the margin and regulatory concerns are largely priced in, and the end of exclusivity poses greater risks to companies like Gujarat Gas, but not MGL. So watch out for MGL today.
Yeah, I'm going to add to your list of stocks, and Thermax is one that's actually had a very good run, 70% in terms of gains. It's been a favorite of the street, and for good enough reason. They've once again posted a good set of earnings, so their revenues are up about 20%. EBITDA is up 37% to come in at 273 crores. Margins have also expanded to about 9.88 versus 8.65. This is the outer end of their, or rather the upper end of their margin band, and net profit is up 20-odd%. Remember, the management has reiterated very recently as well that they have a very solid pipeline in terms of projects for export and domestically as well, and they have a very, very strong good growth going ahead. So all that, keeping in mind the optimistic expectations have been justified, with Thermax once again posting a good quarter. Newland Labs, I know this is a couple of the mid-cap gems that a lot of fund managers seem to hold on their portfolio. Reported earnings, revenues were actually down 5%. EBITDA has also come in lower by 11%. Margins have seen a big decline, so 200 bips down on margins. This stock could be one that could see further selling in today's day of trade. 27.8, and net profit was down 20%. We will try and connect with the management to understand what went behind Newland Lab. But another one that I want to touch upon is AMI Organics. And Niraj, you can come in on this one because I know you track this closely. While there is so much opportunity in the space, and we've seen that in terms of the stock performance, you have Saurabh Mukherjee, likes of Saurabh Mukherjee, who actually own ABI Organics in their portfolio. This one's numbers this quarter haven't looked great. The performance of the counter, though, has not been too bad in the recent past. Revenues were up, EBITDA was up, but margins have shrunk quite sharply, nearly 300 bips, and net profit is also down. Anything on AMI? Because I don't know how to view these numbers. They seem a little bit like while they are a miss on margins and bottom line, top line seems to be okay, but I guess keeping in line with what's happening in the industry.
Yes, and apparently Ami's got that large plant, which is a critical part for FY25 earnings, operational now. And in the release that they've given on the BSE, they've spoken about how this plant will start contributing meaningfully to FY25 numbers. So I think...
but on the top line, there's not a problem,
yeah.
Niraj. I think the margins is what they've got to hit down. 300 bips on margins is looking bad, but
for most companies, maybe could it be the last of the pain before?
Yeah, and the stock performance has been pretty healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, the stock has been an outperformer in the industry. So Ami is one
it's also run up a fair bit. So I think the tolerance levels to tepid
it's going to get a knock in today's day of trade. So Newland, I think Sumit from Malabar does own Newland Pharma. So Newland and Ami are two stocks that could be on the downside. But Thermax, I think the street will like to reward again this morning.
Yes.
Thermax will be interesting. Just a few more that you should watch out for, numbers and other factors. Piramal Pharma, numbers look good on the face of it, but expectations were actually even higher. Their guidance was even higher. Nevertheless, revenues up 18%, EBITDA has grown 51%, net profits up 2x, 102%, and margins have also grown a healthy 455 pips. So at a time when the space has not been doing too well, otherwise, Piramal Pharma has had a good sort of run. Wari Renewables is the other one, and you might not have all the graphics with you, but one I wanted to talk about just because of the kind of run-up Wari Renewables have had. So their revenues are up 4.4 times. For Wari. Their EBITDA is up 3.4x. So it's gone from 22 crores to 75 crores. EBITDA margins, though, are lower at 28% versus 36%, and net profits are up 4.5x. Now, this is an interesting company because obviously in the whole, solar rooftop scheme, and whenever you want to have a play on renewable energy, Wari comes to the fore. But their unexecuted order book is at 2,365 megawatts. So the revenue was expected to be higher. They were expecting to execute about 900 to 950 megawatts, but have done 704 megawatts. So you might see a bit of a knock on Wari as well today because of those numbers. Clutch of others, maybe Sapphire Foods, since we've been talking about Zomato. Sapphire was interesting.
Zomato reports earnings today, so that should be an important one to watch.
Earnings. I was seeing a tweet by the Zomato management talking about how Mother's Day orders have beaten all other festivals. So yesterday they've had a sort of a dream run. Not that you'll see any impact immediately on their revenues or stocks, but these sort of celebrations are good for them.
Mother's Day, Women's Day, Men's Day, Father's Day.
There's no Men's Day. There's no Men's Day.
That's so much for sexism, huh?
That's every day. But anyway, Sapphire Foods. I was talking about Sapphire Foods. Nuvama has retained a buy on Sapphire Foods at 1812 with a 27% upside. It's their top pick.
Sorry, finish.
Which is Sapphire.
Which is Nuvama. Because everybody else, MK downgrade to add, ICICI Sec target cut, MOSL says weak SSG, Investec EPS cut. Everybody else hates it.
But Nuvama likes it.
Hates it, nothing less.
As in, okay, hate is a strong word. All I'm saying is
so
that.
they say it's their top pick on KFC's stability. They say Q4 revenue in line with brokerage estimates, and management is slowing down Pizza Hut store expansion in order to revive brand. So Sri Lanka is, of course, the better prospects, etc., because they've invested quite a bit in the Sri Lanka business. But yes, to your point, you're right. Everyone else doesn't like it.
Who knows? Yeah.
Let's see. I'm waiting to see what happens on opening bell. But that and clutch of others.
Yeah, just one last stock actually. Shada Cropcom. Did we cover it?
No,
okay, we haven't. Just one thing, because the numbers were down. Revenue, margin, PAT was down, but way higher than Bloomberg estimates. So revenues 1312, estimates were 1043. Imagine 30% beat nearly. Margins at 19.42. The Bloomberg estimate, I don't know what happened there. Estimate was 13.3%. And PAT was down 28% at 143 crores. The Bloomberg estimate was 63 crores.
And I think a lot of that could be in the price because the stock for the last 6 months has been a washout.
Yes.
But on Friday, you saw a 3% up move just before those earnings. So maybe somebody apart from Bloomberg knew what was coming on the street.